facility, so if you were expecting not to do any movement this evening, that would be quite bizarre, wouldn't it? Can everybody stand up for me, please? And everybody's had an absolutely fantastic, super brilliant, amazing, sensational and super day, yes? Yes. Tell the truth in advance if you need to. What I'd like you to do is show me with your body what kind of day you had. I'll show you first. We'll get to know each other really quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write the word wow with my whole body. As you will too when I show you. Are you ready? Goes like this. Some of you are going, this is supposed to be a health and fitness talk. What's going on? Are you ready? Go. Now, it felt good, didn't it? Some of you haven't had a big smile like that for a really long time, I can tell, because things have cracked around a bit there. What we're going to do is we're going to do 2 of those quick for the boys, because boys like to do it quickly and more often. And we're going to do 1 really slowly for the girls at my speed, the girls' speed. Okay, you ready? Go. 2 quickies for the boys. Go. And again. Oh, was that good? Jared said it was fantastic. I could tell by his face. Now, at my speed for the ladies. You ready? Go. Some of the guys have given up already. I can't believe it. Finish it off for me. Go. Have a seat. How many of the men in the room would have gone that slowly if it wasn't for my direction? Nobody's prepared to answer that question. If you could jump out of bed, I'll rephrase the question. How many of you jumped out of bed this morning? Jumped out of bed this morning with energy, vitality, enthusiasm, looked in the mirror and said, I am so good looking and I'm in such great shape. Someone's laughing. There's a bloke somewhere that's got to say yes. There's always one bloke that says yes. And you know, I find that really entertaining because I'm from the Gold Coast. Often on the beach at the Gold Coast, you'll see a guy and he'll have a big hairy belly and his little dick stickers on. He's standing on the beach going, check me out, baby. And then there's these gorgeous women on the beach with beautiful bodies and they wrap themselves up and say, no, don't look at me because I'm not very beautiful. Well, tonight's not about losing weight. Oh my goodness, some of you are going, that's what I came here for. It's all about losing weight. It's not. It's about how good you feel when you're in great shape. How good you feel when every part of you is fit and healthy and strong and you've got so much energy that you just don't know what to do with it. Some of you are going, what? That can't be for real. That's never happened to me before. If I could give you 5 simple ways to make that happen that wasn't rocket science, and it was so easy that you'll go, it can't be that easy. And all I'm going to ask you tonight is if you ever think to yourself, it can't be that easy, don't knock it till you've tried it. Would that make sense? The first question I'm going to ask you tonight is, do you want to be fit, healthy, strong, alive, energetic, and feel super every day? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Do you know there's some people in the world who actually like being miserable? You know them, don't you? See, there's some people that walk into a room and they light it up when they walk in, and some light up a room when they walk out. Yes or no? All of a sudden when they go, the oxygen comes back in the room and the lights go back on and everyone goes, oh, thank God she's gone. Well, see, the lady that left the room that's grumpy and miserable and sucked all the oxygen out of it, she hasn't got a lot of energy. She doesn't like who she is. She's miserable and grumpy for a reason, because life's not going so well for her. Can I ask you this question? If you were fit, healthy, strong, alive and energetic, even if challenges came along, would you be able to handle them better? See, if you don't feel very well and you're not very fit and you're not very strong, when something comes along, it tends to push you down real quick. So the question, which was, do you really want it? The next question is, how badly do you want it? Do you want it as badly as Rafi Nadal? You see, 3 people dropped out of that competition because it was too hot. Did you see that? Yeah. Retired due to the heat. The difference between getting what you want and being a loser is 5 sets, twice in 2 days, over 11 hours, and in that last, remember that last, I don't know, if you don't like tennis, I've lost you already, but you've got to go watch that game. I've got goosebumps. It went to juice every single time. There was 2 guys that wanted it really badly. See, if you want it badly, then you'll make it happen. But if you are happy with being ordinary and the same and miserable and grumpy and you're living from day to day and 2009 is just going to be same old, same old, same old, well, obviously tonight's not for you and you wouldn't have come. So I'll forget about that and just assume that everybody's here for the right reason and everybody really, really, really wants to have massive amounts of energy and feel fantastic. Would that be good? So the first question is, how badly do you want it? Second question is, how wrapped up do you get in the whole food thing? First of all, who gets confused about the food thing? Yes or no? Quite a few heads are doing this. We've got a challenge because one diet says if you do this you'll live forever and you'll lose weight and you'll feel fantastic. Another diet says if you do this diet you'll lose weight, feel fantastic and everything will be great. But they're both completely contradictory. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Well, we're going to give you some simple things tonight. How many people in the room have had a long, clear wee today? Hands up. Long, clear tinkle. Not a stinky tinkle and a yellow one. A long, clear one. Hands up. Congratulations, these are the legends in the room. Well done. What's your name? Billy. Billy's had a big one today. You see, your brain cells are 90% fluid. Just take this into account. What does your brain control? Everything. I find it really fascinating when I open diet books, because there's millions of them, and this is what I do for a living, and they never start with, drink some more water. Just drink some more water. If your brain controls everything that you do, 90% of your brain is fluid. Now get a picture in your brain of a big juicy green grape versus a sultana. Big juicy green grape versus a sultana. See, I used to find grumpy people a bit fascinating because we've all got grumpy people in our lives. What I've discovered is they're not really grumpy, they're just dehydrated. And you've just got to give them a glass of water and they'll feel so much better. So just in your seat, we're going to do this little dance because activity is really good. It goes like this. Drink more water till you've got clear wheeze. Drink more water till you've got clear wheeze. Drink more water till you've got clear wheeze. I can't hear you and none of you are doing it. And only the grumpy people wouldn't do it. All the happy, positive people would do it because you're happy, positive people. Yes, go. Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze. Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze. Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze. Is that not simple? This is not rocket science. It's really easy. But you know what most people do? Drink more Coke till I feel sick. Drink more coffee till I've got a headache. Now, the Heart Foundation recommends that you do drink 1 glass of wine every night. Guys, 2 glasses of wine every night. Can't save them up and have 7 on Friday. And I'm not asking you to drink. What I am asking you to do is to think about the fluid that you put into your body and is it good quality stuff. Here's another great question. If you went down to the Magic Millions on the Gold Coast in January and you purchased $1 million racehorse, first of all, is that a big investment? Yes. And what would the horse be doing if you invested in $1 million racehorse? What would it be doing? Racehorse. What would it be doing? It would be racing, yes? Around a track, a horse around a track, to make some money around a track a few times a week maybe. What about us, human beings? What do we do every day? We race around our lives every day. Race around, race around, race around, race around, race around. You spend $1 million on a racehorse. Would you feed it takeaway food every day? Would you pour coffee down it every day? I've bagged coffee twice now, I better stop that. Would you eat lollies and chocolate and put stuff in it all day long and expect the racehorse to run really fast around the racetrack? Just say no. No. Has anybody ever snuck into your house at night, while you're asleep, opened your mouth and forced food down your throat? Has that ever happened to you? See, what has to happen tonight, if you really want to be in great shape, you have to take responsibility for your shape. You can't blame the weather, you can't blame the... People do, it's too hot to exercise. You know in 2 months what they're going to say? It's too cold. It's raining. I can't exercise when it's raining. Really? Did you know that rain's really good for your skin? It's really good for your hair. So you have to take responsibility for the way you look. Here's a really good thing to do tonight. Go home, stand in front of a full-length mirror naked and take a good look. Here's something I have found, and you'll notice this on all the upcoming weight loss shows this year, that the big challenge when somebody becomes very large is that they stopped looking in the mirror. They stopped taking accountability for what happened to this body, and just quickly, it's the only one you've got. You can't trade it in, buy a new one, get a different one, sell it. You are stuck with this one for the rest of your life. So how it looks and how it feels and how it performs is whose responsibility? Mine. So when you're looking in front of the mirror tonight and you say, well, here I am, naked and beautiful. I'm a work in progress and I might have a little bit of work to do. But everything that happened to me up until now is my responsibility. If you haven't been drinking very much water, which controls your brain, let alone your muscles, which is 60 to 70% water, if you're dehydrated, how much energy do you have to exercise? Not very much. Next bit of rocket science, you ready? What if, and this fine group of folks, I'm sure this happens already, but we'll just have a quick test. What if you were to eat one piece of fruit and one piece of vegetable that wasn't a deep-fried potato every day, 7 days, 365 days of the year? What if tonight the only commitment you made was to drink more water till I've got clear wheeze? Go! Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze! Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze! What if you made that simple commitment? What if you made this commitment? Eat one piece of fruit every day. Eat one piece of fruit every day. You can join in if you want. You ready? Go. Eat one piece of fruit every day. Eat one piece of fruit every day. Eat one piece of fruit every day. And you might say, well, I eat more than that. When I present to corporate groups, particularly males, and please bear with me, this is not sexist at all, I have asked this question. Guys, how many of you in the room have eaten a piece of fruit in the last 7 days? In large corporate groups of business folks, very few hands go up. Very few. And I'm not talking, 7 on Monday and then none for the rest of the week. What if tonight, for your body, the only commitment you made was to drink a bit more water and to eat a piece of fruit every day and a different vegetable that wasn't a deep-fried potato? If you did that 365 days of the year, how do you reckon you might feel? See, it's not complicated. You don't have to take anything seriously. You just have to take it regularly. You don't have to take it seriously. You just have to take it regularly. What if your eating plan consisted of, very complicated, you ready? Maths coming on here, and I finished maths in like year 9, so on. 2/3 of what you eat came out of the ground. Of everything that you eat, breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, night time, everything that you ate, 2/3 of it came out of the ground, but looked like it still came out of the ground. When I chat to large groups of school students, they say to me, what about Fruit Loops, miss? They come out of the ground. They're made from sugar cane, and they're made from flour, and they're made from corn and rice, and they all come out of the ground. And my answer to that is, when was the last time you saw a Fruit Loop tree? Other question, Rowie, what do I eat? I read the labels on all my food. Am I eating the right thing? Here's a great suggestion. Eat less food with labels. Eat less things out of a can. Eat less things out of a jar. Eat less things out of a bag. Eat more things that look like they came out of the ground. And here comes the big bit. 1/3 comes from other stuff. Wine, chocolate, takeaway food. Doesn't matter. Because if 2/3 of what you're eating comes out of the ground, and here's a quick tip, eat it first. Eat the ground stuff first. Because if you eat your veggies and your fruit and your whole grains first, what happens to how full you feel? And then you do what you're supposed to do, which is a little bit of dessert, 1/3 at the end. What if you had a look at your plate and you said, does that look like it came out of the ground? Some of you are feeling really good about yourselves right now. You're going, yes, Rowie, I do this already. Well, here's our challenge. Those of you that are doing it already, lots of people are not. Jamie Oliver went to some schools in England to help with the tuck shop program. And he brought in some fresh vegetables. I don't know if you saw this, but this to me was very embarrassing for the Western world. He had these beautiful fresh tomatoes. You know the ones that you can still smell, that they don't smell like produced tomatoes, they actually smell like tomatoes. And these school kids said to him, Jamie, what's that? What is it? It's a tomato. But what is a tomato? We have that on our pizza, but it doesn't look like that. See, as a Western world, we're fatter and sicker and weaker than we've ever been, and we're heading in the wrong direction. Just yesterday, we're talking about taking obese children off their parents. If we could get our children to drink more water till they had clear wheeze and eat a piece of fruit and eat a piece of vegetable that wasn't deep fried, and they did that every day. And here's the next question. How many of you have had a number 2 today that slid out easily? Some of you are looking at me as if I can't believe she just said that. Come on, how many people in the room have never done a number 2? It's something we don't talk about, but for me, it's something I always ask people in relationship to their health and fitness. When was the last time you had a number 2 that slid out easily? I had a client once, his name was Matt. You know what he said? Sundays. For the men in the room, cancer is a big killer of men. The number 1 killer of men and cancer is bowel and colon cancer. And that's because your number 2s don't slide out easily. What would happen if you ate more fruit and veggies to your number 2s? What would happen to them? Because all the little fibre bits in your food would then push your number 2s out. The ladies in the room have ever done a toxic, what do they do that? I'm doing a detox. Do you know the human body's an amazing thing? It detoxes itself at least 2 times a day. You do number 1s and you do number 2s. It's called rubbish coming out of your body. See, not rocket science. You don't have to put a big hose up the other end. You just have to eat some fruit and veggies and it'll all come out nicely. Doesn't that sound good? See, it's not that complicated. All together now. Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze. Drink more water till I've got clear wheeze. Eat 1 piece of fruit and veg every day. Eat 1 piece of fruit and veg every day. Eat 1 piece of fruit and veg every day. Easy. Next question. Who brushes their teeth? I wish that was 100% hands up. Now I know why some of you might be sitting at the back of the room. Something I found out just last year, because we sponsor children in a country called Burkina Faso, which is a 4th world country. It doesn't even rate as a 3rd world country. And even in a 4th world country, people want to brush their teeth. If they haven't got a toothbrush, they get a stick and they clean their teeth. So as humans, we're committed to cleaning or looking after our teeth. Why is that? What happens if you don't clean your teeth? Your mum smacks your bum? Good. Because your teeth rot away. I'm going to say that loudly. Your teeth rot away, yeah? What happens to your breath? How do you feel if you don't brush your teeth for 4 or 5 days? I hope nobody knows the answer to that. It's interesting though, because as a Western world, we are committed to looking after this percentage of our body. This tiny little bit here gets looked after 2 times a day. Yes? 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night, because that's what's recommended. 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night. What if you made a commitment today that every morning when you got out of bed, you did 2 minutes of huffy puffy exercise? Now, I didn't say 20, did I? Do you know why? Because when I went to study health and fitness, here was the recommendation. If you don't do 20 to 30 minutes of elevated heart rate, cardiovascular exercise, don't bother. Guess what's happened to the Western world? It hasn't bothered. And we're the fattest and sickest and weakest we've ever been. You might not be, because we're in a beautiful environment of health and fitness, but somebody in your life is. Just a quick show of hands, how many in your life, how many people here right now have somebody in your life that doesn't do any exercise at all? Isn't that interesting? Most people know someone who doesn't do any exercise at all. What if you could encourage them to do 2 minutes in the morning? Woo! Maybe while they were brushing their teeth, they could do their exercise, yeah? Time management. You could split it up. One in the morning, one at morning tea, one at lunchtime and one in the afternoon. See, it's not that complicated. But here's what happens. I'm too tired. I haven't got time. It's too hot. It's too cold. I'm too busy. And then you stand in front of the mirror and you go, oh my goodness, I'm so fat. I feel so bad. My ass is hanging down to my knees. I haven't seen my penis for 6 months. That doesn't happen all by itself. That's called abuse of your own body. And you might not be abusing yours, but somebody in your life is. 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at morning tea, 1 minute at lunchtime, but 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, because how often would you skip brushing your teeth? Never, just say never. And that's because you don't want this to rot away. Guess what happens when you don't move your body? It rots away. Your body will rot away. 1 in 3 women get osteoporosis. They used to think that what happened is your bones got so weak that you tripped and when you fell over your bones broke. Well, that's not quite the case. My mother's got advanced osteoporosis. Sorry, my mother used to have advanced osteoporosis when she was 74. She's now 86. What happens is the bones get so weak that they break and that causes you to fall over. If that's not a motivation to be fit, healthy and strong, I don't know what is, because guess what? 1 in 3 women get that. Have a look around you. You might not get it, but those 2 will. Oh, my mum's now 86 years of age. She's had 2 massive heart attacks, which means she should be dead because everybody else in her family is dead from a heart attack. However, her last bone mineral density test said that she had mild osteopenia. Most 25-year-old women that have had any kind of eating disorder have mild osteopenia. We have replaced her bone mineral density. We've taken her off all of her pills except for half. She used to take like 6 different pills for different things. Now she's got half ones. I don't know if you want to live to your 86, but she travels around the world on a cruise ship every year. She plays with her grandkids and now her great-grandchildren, and her goal is to be at her great-granddaughter's 21st birthday. My mother will be 125! And at 86... if she was standing up here now, she would say to you, if you don't exercise and you don't drink water and you don't eat fruit and vegetables, you're stupid. And she can say that because she's 86. So I didn't say that, she did, okay? What I'm asking you today is to take responsibility for your life. I know that you probably came tonight looking for the magic pill. These guys said, we just want the coin to drop. I've been doing this for a really long time. And I've watched people become sick and fat and miserable and depressed. Let me ask you this question. How depressed do you feel when you're fit, healthy and strong and you go for a run? Do you see the marathon runners going, oh, I'm so depressed. I wish I wasn't here. The new guy that's broken the world record twice in marathon, people call him the smiling runner because he runs the whole time with a big smile on his face. Life was not meant to be depressing. It was not meant to be full of financial crisis. I call it a financial correction. I said to John on my way in, I believe that we needed it because there were a lot of lazy people in the world who were getting away with doing nothing, and now they've all been fired. I know that's really harsh, but we have to be responsible for our lives. Everything that happens to us is our responsibility. When you signed up for your position in your business, did you write on your resume, I'm going to put in 50% effort? I'm going to be a half-effort person? I reckon you might have said, I'm a 100% extra mile person on your resume, and you might have said that in your interview as well. It's impossible to put in 100% effort into your business and into your life and into your relationships and into your work and what you love to do if you're not fit, healthy and strong. And it's not that complicated. You have, on the Sunshine Coast, one of the most passionate and qualified personal trainers that I've ever met. Look what she's done. She's grabbed us all out of our Tuesday nights and said, come and learn some more stuff about getting your body into great shape. And what a great name is Strip Fit. Strip the fat off and get fit. I'm about to introduce you to a man who has a master's degree in exercise science. I love that because it means he knows a little bit about what goes on inside. The reason I love him even more, apart from the fact that he is my husband, is that if you thought what I had to say was really simple and you're like, oh, I can't believe I got out of bed for this, Kman's going to make exercise, the art of exercise, because that's what he is, exercise physiologist, so very simple. See, if I got you to stand up right now, would that be easy? Just quickly, and only for 1 second, for those of you who don't want to, just do it anyway, just 1 second. Now you can sit back down again. Is it hard to stand up? No, but it's easier to sit down, isn't it? It's not very hard to drink more water till you've got clear wheeze, but it's also easy not to do it. It's not very hard to be committed to eating 1 piece of fruit and 1 piece of vegetable every day that isn't a deep fried potato. It's not very hard, but it's also easy not to do it. It's not very hard to start your exercise program at 4 minutes a day. The beautiful thing about exercise, though, for those of you that are fit, healthy and strong, I can tell, because the women in the room that exercise, you can tell that because they're tight, toned and yummy. Yes? As a woman in the room today, whether you have to tell the truth in advance or not, just say, I am tight, toned and yummy. Go. I am tight, toned and yummy. I'm tight, toned and yummy. See, that's what exercise does for you. It's this amazing product that if you start it, you only have to start it. And if you do 4 minutes every day, this amazing thing will happen. You'll feel good. And you'll go, wow, I could actually do 2 minutes. Because the old stupid exercise program said if you don't do 30 minutes, don't bother. So what happened is you had a go and you did 5 and you got tired, and when you were tired you gave up because someone said you had to do 30 and you felt like a loser. But what if you just did 2? Yeah, I can do 2, and you end up doing 3, 4 or 5. How do you feel then? Great. Now I'm a winner, and winners want to do more of what they just did because it makes them feel good. The same with your kids. If you've got overweight children, don't say you've got to go for a walk for an hour. Do you know what stupid recommendation that is for somebody that doesn't exercise? You may as well send them on a 42.2 kilometre run, because that's how long an hour walk is for somebody that doesn't do any exercise. But what if you just, when you're on the mobile phone, just had a bit of a jiggle around? What if when you got out of bed in the morning, guys, you could, it has to be in the upstanding position for at least a minute. Guys, upstanding position for at least a minute. That will be good, as long as you're huffing and puffing. And last but not least, fit people burn fat faster. I'm sure you've heard that before. Fit people burn fat faster. But the really interesting thing is, if you are sitting here right now and you're unfit, and the person next to you is really fit, nobody's expending too much energy at the moment because we're sitting still. But the person that's fit is burning off calories twice as fast as you if you're unfit. Woo! Burning them off at rest. And the simple way to get fit is to get huffy and puffy. So instead of doing 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, do 2 but put some effort into it. Do 1 but put some effort into it. And puff. But if it's only 60 seconds, could you do 60 seconds? Just say yes, you can. I promise. Everybody can puff for 60 seconds. And you won't die because you only have to watch Biggest Loser. None of those guys have died. If you go to the doctor and you are 130 kilos with high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, the doctor will probably tell you not to exercise, yes or no? Because you could die. Well, guess what they're doing with these guys? They're pushing them and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them, and they're getting fitter. Now, I'm not going to go into whether or not that works. What I am sharing with you is that fit people burn fat faster. If you get your heart to pump fast, it'll get used to it and it'll love it. And when you can do 1 minute, you'll be able to do 2, and you can do 2, you can do 3. Before you know it, you'll be running 30 minutes and you'll be going, oh my God, I feel fantastic. Kerry McEvoy is the exercise physiologist who's going to share that with you. Everybody stand up and write wow with your bottom. Go!
Okay, everyone standing up again. Okay, what we're going to do, because we're all in a wonderful personal training studio, we're going to do a triathlon. In the studio, it's a 30-second triathlon, and what's the first event of the triathlon is the swim. So I'm going to shoot the gun, you're going to run to the water, dive in the water, and swim for 10 seconds as fast as you can, because this is a race. Then you get out of the pool, you hop out of the pool, you hop on your bike. I'll just borrow this chair for a sec. You sit in your chair, and then you got to pedal your bike for 10 seconds. Then when you get off your bike, and then you got to sprint to the trial line for 10 seconds. When you cross the trial line, arms in the air, and go, I'm a champion, because you just won the triathlon. Are we ready? Of course we are. Say, I'm ready. Are we ready? Ready. Okay, so at the starting line, everyone in the starting line, you've got to get ready. I've got the gun. Ready? Bang, run, dive, swim. 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out of the water. On your bike, quick. Pedal, pedal, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up, run for the trial line. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Cross the trial line. Yo! Okay, before we sit. Oh, you're just gagging to sit. You know, Row and I did a national tour for women's empowerment. And you're probably wondering why I went. But we did a tour. We went a tour with Ida Buttrose, Heather Turlin, Lisa Carey-Kenny, and Row and I were talking about health. And one of the greatest comments I heard from Lisa Carey-Kenny, she said to the ladies, if you want to lose your butt, get off it. So what I'm going to ask you to do is stop searching for the chair and the couch. Because if you sit on the couch long enough, you start to look like the couch. Okay, so let's do a bit of a postural correct. Everyone feet shoulder distance apart. Put your belly button in, tummy in. That's it, and keep maintaining breathing. Shoulders back, chest up. How good's that? Now, what have I just done to your tummy size? I've decreased it. What have I just done to your chest size, ladies? Increased it. I've just saved yourselves $10,000 worth of plastic surgery. Okay, have a seat. How to change your body shape, drink wine, have chocolate, and still have fun in your life. Now, as Rowie said, there's some major things you have to do, and the obvious things that most people are fully aware of is that, drink more water, so you have clear wheeze, eat 2/3, 1/3, most of the stuff that you should come out of the ground. Here's a nice philosophy: eat more food that humans have not rooted with. Eat less stuff that humans have rooted with. I replaced the word. Now, because if you look at food and you say, I reckon a human stuffed around with that, means it doesn't look like this original food from the ground, then eat less of it. If it looks like it still comes out of the ground, that humans haven't got in there and start to process it and stuff it up, then eat less of it. So you can still have it, but 80% of the time, or 75%, eat the stuff that looks like it came out of the ground. Move more, as Rowie mentioned. Look at every opportunity to move. Don't see movement as an inconvenience. See it as a opportunity. So if you have to go around something, they go, damn, I have to go around. Great, I'm going around. Because when I go around, I burn more energy. So move more. And it's interesting, if you look at, say, fidgeters. You ever come across a fidgeter? You ever come across a fat fidgeter? The foot just happen like this, because what we know is fidgeters burn off around about 800 more calories a day than the person who sits in there and just, you go up to them and take their pulse to see if they're still alive. Yes, they've got a faint pulse. But fidgeters, so all those little movements throughout the day add up to a fair bit of energy expenditure. All the little movements. You know, if your car's in the garage and it's idling and someone's in there going, like your kid gets into the garage and goes, what's going to happen to the petrol being burnt off? Even if the car's not moving, do that 24 hours a day, then it's going to add to a significant amount of energy expenditure. So, yeah, all those little things do add up. A lot of people think, I have to start something to get something. No, you just have to do little things, and at the end of the day, it adds up. And then looking for opportunities to go for a walk. Start with 2 minutes, go build of the 3, build of the 5, work it into your life, and make it easy. One thing we do know, you don't have to do exercise in one big chunk. You don't have to drive your car in one big hit to burn off the petrol. Now, if I'm going to drive from here to Brisbane, I can drive the car from here to Brisbane in one straight drive with no brakes, and I'm going to burn off X amount of fuel. If I take 10 stops along the way, do I burn less fuel, more fuel, the same fuel? Probably a bit more, because you're starting and stopping. So a lot of people think you have to exercise for 30 minutes, but you can actually break it up into small little chunks. The World Health Organization guidelines is 100 minutes of huffy-puffy activity a week. But the beautiful thing is you can actually break it up. You can break your car drives up and you're still going to burn off the petrol. When we did the seminar in Sydney with the Women's Empowerment seminar, a lady came up and she said, look, I'm finding it hard to find time to fit exercise or huffy-puffy activity into my life. And I said, okay, well, that's fair enough. She says, do you mind me asking, can you do 5 minutes in the morning? You know, she said, I'm really busy. I've got a corporate job. My husband is very much into his career. I've got 2 kids. I said, but can you do 5 minutes first thing in the morning? You know, just walk around the block for 5 minutes. She said, yeah, I could do that. And it's okay. So how about lunchtime? How about lunchtime? Can you wedge in at your lunch? Just go for a walk for 5 minutes. And a girlfriend beside her says, oh, you could do 10. I said, oh, come on, careful. Don't overtrain her. Let's start with 5. And how about the end of the day? Before you go into your home and get ambushed and hijacked by your kids and your family, why don't you just go for a walk for 5 minutes? Can you do that? She says, I can do that. So that's 15 minutes a day, 7 days a week, adds up to 105 minutes in a week, which is 5 minutes more than the World Health Organization guideline. So we have to trim off 5 somewhere. So a lot of people think they have to wedge their life into exercise. No, you wedge your exercise into your life, and you can wedge it into little bits, and your lots of little bits adds up to a large bit. You know, a little bit of something is better than a lot of nothing. A little bit of something is better than a lot of nothing. So if you drink more, water and eat more stuff out of the ground and look for opportunities to move and you do a bit of huffy puffy exercise, you start to change your body shape and start to feel good up until about the age of 20. So anyone here under 20? Okay, the rest of you are stuffed. Not necessarily. Because what happens after 20 is, after the age of 20, generally, from research from Tufts University in the United States, is the average person starts to lose muscle tissue. It's called sarcopenia, loss of muscle tissue with age. And the average amount of muscle tissue you lose is around about half a pound a year. Half a pound a year, on average, depending on how active you are. Even if you're doing the huffy puffy activity. They looked at 60-year-old long-distance runners who've been running all their life, and at age 60 years of age, they had no more muscle tissue than the average sedentary person who's never exercised in their life. They were fitter and leaner and healthier, but they'd still lost the same amount of muscle as the person who had been sedentary. So even huffy puffy activity is great for the vascular system and metabolism, but it doesn't actually work on the engine, which is the muscle. Now, considering that every pound of muscle burns off around about 50 calories a day, every pound of muscle burns off 50 calories a day, and if you're losing half a pound a year after the age of 20, in a decade you're losing around about 5 pounds of muscle, which is equivalent, 5 pounds of muscle a day, or 5 pounds of muscle in the decade, means 5 pounds times 50, means 250 calories a day you're burning off less than what you were say, 10 years ago. So your engine, which is your muscle tissue, which is the engine, because where do you burn fat? You don't burn fat off in the fat. Otherwise you get more fat to burn fat. That doesn't make sense. You don't burn fat off in the bone. You don't burn fat off in the hair. Is your hair burning a lot of fat today? No. Fathead? No. Where do you burn fat off? In the engine. The engine of the body is the active tissue called your muscle tissue. So what's happening is, at age 20 years of age, we're born we're at a peak where we've got this jet engine. You ever notice when you're really, really young, you can do whatever you want, you don't actually put on fat because you got this jet engine. Vroom, vroom, you walk around. Vroom, vroom. Not so much now because people are getting more sedentary earlier on. However, by the time you get to 30, you're downgraded to a V8. But you're still fueling the engine as if it's a jet engine. Then by age 40, you're down to a 6-cylinder. By age 50, you're down to a little Hyundai Sprint. By 60, you're down to a 2-stroke lawnmower. But you're trying to burn off the fuel that you feed a jet engine. Notice with age it seems to be, and we just call it, that's just middle age spread. No. What you're doing is you're losing muscle tissue, your engine, your metabolism is coming down, the revs of the engine is coming down, but you're still shoving the petrol in, and sitting a lot more. Therefore, what happens is it sort of creeps up on you. And you say, well, I don't eat very much. You ever heard that? People say, I don't eat very much. Well, how do you get fat? Swallowing oxygen? Oh, fat oxygen these days. Little fat molecules floating around. Don't inhale. You walk past a cake shop. Well, don't inhale. The calories come out. There's a pure law of physics. Yeah, energy in, energy out. Simple as that. I'm going to give you the secret to weight loss. You ready for this? This is the secret. I'll get your pen ready for this. Eat less and what you burn off. How you wrap that in a low carb or high fat or fruit after lunch, or whatever you want to do with that. At the end of the day, it comes to calorie in, calorie out, because energy is held in the molecules in the bonds of molecules. So if you take the molecules in through carbon, protein, and all that, but you still have to break those molecules apart to get rid of it. It just doesn't sort of just disappear. Okay? You can put petrol in the car. You can't say, okay, just do a bit of abracadabra and the petrol will go out. What do you have to do to burn off petrol out of the car? Start up the car and take it driving. So the more you drive the car, the more you burn off the petrol. But the car has like a tank, right? One tank. One big tank of petrol. In our body, we have around about 40 billion of them. They're called little fat cells. 40 billion fat cells. So if you fill up the fat cell, there's only one way to get the fat out of the fat cell. Send it to the engine, which is the muscle. Now, you can do all sorts of crazy things to try to get the petrol out of the tank or fat out of the fat cell. Some people put creams on the fat. That's like going up to the car and putting cream over the bonnet. What are you doing? I'm getting rid of the petrol. They'll lock you up for that type of stuff. Oh, I'll just sit here and I pop a couple fat metabolising pills. Imagine that, putting a couple of pills in the tank. One of these are petrol metabolising pills in the tank. Are you going to take the car driving? Nah. Some people actually go and actually shake the car. You know, shake. They shake it. You know, these things now. You know, you get onto a vibrating plate, and fat just comes off. That's like putting my car on a vibrating plate and vibrating the petrol out of the tank. You think it's going to get rid of the petrol out of the tank? Hey, if you want to burn off fat, get off your butt. Get moving, and move and move and move. And look after the engine. The engine is the most important part. Now, in a car, the engine breaks down, guess what? You can buy a new car. But you start losing the engine in your body, you can't just go and buy some more muscle. You're starting to lose muscle after the age of 20. Now, the good news is you can actually rebuild it. We can rebuild you into the 6 million. Right? But look after your muscle, because the muscle is where all the action is. If you want to burn off the fat, you have to have the muscle to burn it off. A V8 engine burns off far more fuel than a little mini moke. So we're born with these V8 engines, but over time we start to lose it through neglect and through sedentary lifestyle and whatever it might be. Don't look for the shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. You know, a lot of people want to burn off the fat by sitting, getting on a vibration belt, or taking a couple of pills, or getting a couple of creams, or doing something where they can lay down. Can I lay down and burn fat? Lay on the floor and these things. The crunches. You see that? All you're doing there is you're rolling up and you're squishing the fat and you're releasing the fat. And you're squishing the fat and you're releasing the fat. We call it a squish fat exercise. How much fat are you burning? Nothing. All you're doing is squishing it. Squish, 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 squish. Do squish, squish. And what are you doing? Trying to burn off the fat? Here. Trying to burn off there. Squish, squish, and then you do the side. You've got to do some of the side. Squish, 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 squish. Do a bit of the side, do some of the side. Squish, squish, squish. What if you do one side and not the other side? Do you have a fat side and a thin side? Then you lay on the side. I've got to get some off my legs. Then you do the inside. And do the outside. What if you do the outside, not the inside? Thin outside, but look at the big fat inside. What if you do one leg, not the other one? So look at that person with the big fat leg, and the other one's really thin. How does that happen? You see, fat is in fat cells, and you can't take, if you have a petrol tank, you can't take parts of petrol out of the tank and leave the rest in there. You lose fat, as you probably notice, all over. You don't really have a choice. You have to release the fat from the fat, so it goes into the blood and then gets transported to the muscle. It goes into the mitochondria and gets oxidized off in what we call the Krebs cycle. But that actually happens in the engine. The engine's got a rev. The more you rev the engine, the more you drive the car, the more you burn off the fat. But you don't have a choice where you burn it off. You notice that, ladies, the first place you tend to lose it is where? And there. Damn! It's off the face. Is that because you're doing all these face exercises? What are you doing? I'm getting up in the morning, do some face squeezes in the mirror. Really, the place you should lose is off the legs. Is what do you walk around on every day? Why are you losing it off the face? Because I'm chewing gum. No, you don't have a choice. It's like, it's like a pool. Think of the pool, and the fat is the water in the pool. And I want to get rid of, there's a deep end and a shallow end in the pool. So you want to get the fat out of the deep end. If you get a bucket and go to the deep end and get a bucket out of the deep end and throw it out, then you just take it out of the deep end. Do you leave this big indent in the water? No, it sort of equals out, right? So when you take fat out of the pool, it equals out all over. And then as you lose weight, your genetics is the shape of the pool. So you have a deep end. Guess what the deep end is, ladies? Why do you use that's the deep end? Because that's where you carry fat to preserve life, to provide energy for pregnancy. And where's the shallow end? Up here. And have a little bit of a semi-deep end here. Because fat is energy, and energy for lactation and pregnancy. That's why you carry it close to where the milk is produced. That's where you carry it around here where the baby needs it. Men, we just have one deep end, and that's here, isn't it? We call it the patio over the playground. And just very quickly is that, men carry it here because we're the hunter, aren't we? Hunter. We're the hunter. So when we go hunting, traditionally hunting, we carry fat here because this is like a little spare pack of sandwiches we take with us hunting. And we go off and we burn it, and the fat cells there are larger, it's more metabolically active, releases fat into the bloodstream a lot easier, hence men can burn off fat a lot more effectively than women. But the challenge is we don't hunt anymore, do we? Physically, we dial it. Dial a pizza. So what happens is instead of having a little spare pack of sandwiches hunting, we take a full buffet. But we don't need the buffet, hence men have twice the mortality rate for coronary heart disease, because fat around the belly is very dangerous. Once your waist measurement is over 100 centimetres, you go into the high risk of coronary heart disease, diabetes, and now there's this new disease called diabesity. Isn't that challenging? Now, kids as young as 8 years of age having diabetes, and kids by as young as 10 are obese. It's a sad state of affairs. Because they're not moving. There's no sort of movement. When I grew up in Papua New Guinea, there's no TV, no technology, nothing. All I did is climb trees and run around the bush. There were no fat kids in New Guinea. 30 years ago, there was no fat kids in my school. Why? Because what did we do all day? We played. We climbed trees. We throw the rocks at the neighbour's roof, and then run. But now, it's really important that as parents that you start to look at how can you get your kids active. Now, for yourself, then the same you have to do the lessons yourself because you're the role models. If you're sitting on the couch, what do you think your kid's going to do? You're the role model. I idolised my father. And I just followed in his footsteps. If he smoked, I'd smoke. If he ate junk, I'd eat junk. That's what kids do. They observe. They observe and say, you're my role model, and they follow. So we have to lead the way. Now, for you have this challenge, possibly this challenge of what we call sarcopenia. So the best way to reverse that is to do the opposite that we did to lose it. What did we do to lose it? Sit. What you should do? Stand. There's a good start. Back in the days when we never had this major challenge because we would be more physical in our farming and gathering and all sorts of stuff, so we used the muscle. But if you don't use it, what happens? You lose it. So we have to now start using it. Now, because of lifestyle with remote controls and that, we don't use it. So we have to set up a plan to use it in a controlled sense. And that's called strength training. And the beautiful thing with strength training, a lot of people are fearful of strength training. Particularly women. Isn't that right? A lot of women think if they do lifting weights, I look like those big female bodybuilders. You know those ones that cast a shadow down the suburb. You think you go in there and lift a bit of weights, you wake up the next morning and turn to your husband, morning! You got the moms out here. And he goes, oh, hi darling. Your turn to make breakfast. I've got to go and have a shave. Now, understanding, using that as an example of weight training that affects in women, you're dealing with a whole different specimen there. You have a woman who is probably more man than woman. They're very dedicated to all their training and their lifting. They take lots of food. Their whole life is about growth, and they'll probably take lots of other little, like drugs. But one of the first side effects of taking steroids is loss of memory. I've noticed that. Because as soon as they took it, they forgot they took it. I'm not on drugs. What are you talking about? I ask. So, ladies, please don't be fearful that you're going to actually. Women don't have a great capacity to put on muscle. You don't have the levels of hormones, of human growth hormone and testosterone. You don't have the ability to put on muscle. All I want you to do is hold on to the muscle you got. Don't be scared about going beyond your genetic potential. Just hold on to your genetic potential. Hold on to the muscle you had at 20. If you can maintain that muscle for all your life, then you're doing exceptionally well. Most women are. The same with the bone mineral density. So the only way to keep that is to do some strength training and keep the revs of the engine up, keep the furnace burning the fat. Not just when you're moving around, but when you're sitting around. Because a car V8 in idle, sitting in the garage, will burn off more petrol than the two-stroke lawnmower in idle in the garage. So it's not just when you're exercising, it's 24 hours a day. When you're sleeping, you have a high metabolic rate. The main contributor to a high metabolism, where 70% of the energy expended, is your resting metabolic rate. And the main contributing factor to that is muscle. Muscle. So look after the muscle. If you don't look after the muscle, you lose the muscle and you tend to replace it with fat. Have you ever noticed that? So you can do your huffy puffy. That's really important. Do your huffy puffy and take the stairs and not the escalator. A lot of people line up for the escalator and they'll take the escalator until they create a chair-a-later. Isn't it amazing? We always look for the easy path. The easy path. Don't choose the easy path. Choose the better path. The better path is a little inconvenience, but you know what is worse than a little inconvenience? Is a massive inconvenience, a coronary heart disease, diabetes, a short life, and a poor role model for your kids. That's what we're dealing with. We have an epidemic on our hands, something that has to be done. It has to be the people who are leading the kids. They're the future. These days, over 60% of the population is overweight, but that percent of the population, the adults, weren't even fat when they were kids. They started thin and they end up fat. Imagine what a kid's going to be like starting fat. What are they going to end up? Dead. That's how they'll end up. And they kept their lives through drugs. Yeah, people are living longer, but they're dying earlier. They're living longer, but they're dying earlier. And just drugs keep them alive. But what happens to the quality of life? The quality of life is shit. You see people waddling around trying to get around. But, it may be ignorance, obviously. But now let's start to help and look after the young ones and look after ourselves and be role models. It's a win-win situation. So, losing muscle tissue. If you want to change your body shape, what's the best way to change your body shape? Well, you can't determine where fat is. I'll put this one up here. I'll put this one up here. And you have no choice, but you do have a bit of a choice of where you can put muscle, the muscles that you work. Good muscles maintain good posture. What people do is when they lose the muscle tissue, they lose the control and they start to suffer from poke neck, rounded shoulders, kyphosis, lordosis, scoliosis, theosis all over themselves. And they're walking around like this. And you look about 10 years to 20 years younger because you get poor posture. So what holds all your muscles, what holds all your joints in position is muscle. It's the support structure for your body. It gets you moving. With age you start to suffer from things such as osteoporosis or osteopenia. What's that from? From not using the muscle. Because what's the muscle attached to? The muscle is attached onto the bones. When the muscle pulls on the bones, it causes tension and compression to the bones. Therefore, the body starts to lay down more bone mineral density. Get moving, get walking. If you can do a bit of a jog, jogging's good because impact's good for bones. Well, you say, don't jog, it's bad for you. No! Do a bit of jogging if you enjoy jogging. If you don't enjoy jogging, don't do jogging. But do some walking. Put everything you've got into everything you do while keeping a smile on your face. So you want to maintain bone, we can reverse the muscle. We can actually reverse that. If you've got a pulse, we can make a difference. Everyone check the pulse. Everyone got a pulse? All right, we can change. Isn't that amazing? If you want to change. There's no blame, there's no excuses. It's just if you want to. If you've got a pulse, the body is in a constant process of remodelling itself. All you have to do is to put the pressure on there too. If I start to rub my hand, guess what forms? Calluses. Isn't that amazing? Rub it, calluses form. So if I put tension there, what forms? Muscle. If I start to do this, what forms there? Muscle. Osteoporosis. What supports the joints of the body? The muscle. If I start losing the muscle around the joints, what happens to the joint? It starts to get more force and lots of stress going through the joint because they don't have the support. The three things that support the joint is the architecture of the joint, the ligaments of the joint, and the third is the muscle. We can't affect the other two, but we can affect the muscle. So if you want to sort of avoid or minimise or decrease the symptoms of osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, it is muscle. All the research is now coming through. This is fantastic stuff in a controlled environment. Obviously, you may have to consider some of the symptoms that you're having, but you can do that. Coronary heart disease. Strength training actually has an effect on what we call your cholesterol. You have two types of cholesterol. Your high density lipoproteins. They're called your the high fives. They're the good ones. The high density, what mainly affects them is cardiovascular exercise. And the dangerous one is your low density lipoproteins. They're the low lives. You want to get rid of those ones. And what mainly affects them is strength training. Strength training has an effect. So if you do cardio and strength training, you have a good balance of your cholesterol, which affects your coronary heart disease. Decreases blood pressure. Strength training decreases blood pressure. Now whether that's direct or because you're stronger, if you're stronger, well, you tend to move around a lot more. Yeah, you see a flight of stairs and you go, oh my gosh, how am I going to get up there? But if you're strong, guess what you tend to? So when you're stronger, you tend to increase your incidental activity. Because you're stronger, you've got a bigger engine in the bonnet. And so who wants to go to the shop? I can. But if you go to the lawnmower, no, not me. So build the engine, you want to move around a lot more. You actually bound up the stairs. You know, look for opportunities to bound upstairs. Be young again. Be young in mind. Your body will follow. You know, so if you want to maintain your bone and your joint stability, coronary heart disease, diabetes. Strength training actually increases the sensitivity of insulin that helps in the storage of glucose as glycogen in your muscles. So one of the challenges that we have with diabetes is high levels of fat can actually inhibit the effect of insulin, which stores the glycogen from the glucose into glycogen. But strength training can lower blood fat levels and has a positive effect on reducing the chances of diabetes. So you hit it from both angles, not just from the huffy-puffy stuff, but from the engine. So you've got to actually use the engine in the huffy-puffy and tune the engine in the strength training. Think of strength training as tuning the engine. How often do you got to tune the engine? Not very often, not every day, but you need to drive it every day. And there's all these other associated benefits of strength training. You know, so decreasing depression. Yeah, well, there's this big depression thing going on. You know, oh, I'm depressed. Well, do some exercise. Because when you exercise, you release all the happy hormones, the adrenaline, the noradrenaline, the catecholamines. Guess what? You start to feel good. Have you ever had an exercise session and felt bad after it? Every time, even if you go for a walk, how do you feel? Good. So if you keep moving, So if you keep moving, guess what? You don't go, oh, geez. If you keep moving, you come, right, I've done something positive. So one of the best things for depression is exercise, strength training. You know, for all sorts of associated things. You know, I won't continue on, but they're sort of the major ones. Now, the biggest challenge that we have with strength training is people think I have to dedicate all this time and effort and hours a day. And that's all being modelled off the bodybuilders and all that. But now we know from the research, you don't have to do a lot. Now, as Rowie shared, how much time do you spend brushing your teeth? 2 minutes a day, 2 times a day is 4 minutes, times 7 is about 28 minutes a week brushing your teeth to look after what percent of your body? Less than, probably 0.1% of your body. For the same amount of time, you can look after every bone, every muscle in your entire body by doing some strength training for 28 minutes a week. Research now shows that from strength training, you can get all these great benefits when training for as little as once a week. Because when the remodeling of the body occurs, it's not when you're lifting or not when you're doing the exercise. It's when you rest after the exercise. It's like a callus. If I rub the skin, this wears down the skin, and when does the callus form? After. If I'm always rubbing and never resting, guess what? I just wear it down to the bone until So think of the strength training as the rubbing, the stimulus that stimulates progress when the body is resting and doing cardiovascular exercise. So now we know that you can do a strength training as little as 1 to 2. If you want to do 2 times a week, great. But if you